ever get that feeling like you're staring down this massive project at work.
Or maybe trying to wrap your head around a whole new field.
Or even just like looking at your to-do list.
And it's just like, whoa.
Where do I even start?
It's totally overwhelming, right?
It can be.
You're not alone.
Absolutely not.
It's like a universal feeling.
It is.
Especially these days, right?
The world's moving so fast.
And it's so complicated.
So many things coming at you all at once.
And that's where I think this idea of frameworks becomes super powerful.
Frameworks can be a real lifesaver.
They really can.
They give you that structure that you need.
That's it.
To approach all that complexity.
To break it down.
And make it manageable.
And the sources that we've got today.
Oh, they're packed with these different types of frameworks.
All kinds of tools.
Used in all sorts of fields.
And especially in product management.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's a huge area where people are using them all the time.
Absolutely.
And so our goal in this deep dive, what are we trying to do here?
It's to really get to the heart.
The core value?
Of what these frameworks are all about.
To give you that aha moment.
So that you can see how they can actually help you.
Help you like right away.
Yeah, make sense of information.
Figure out what really matters.
Make better decisions.
Solve problems more effectively.
So we're confident.
Understand your customers.
All that good stuff.
All that jazz.
So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
All right, so one thing that I think we can all relate to.
Oh, yeah.
Is just having way too much on our plates.
Too much to do.
Too many tasks.
Not enough time.
Right.
That's the story of my life.
So that's where these prioritization frameworks
yes.
come in really handy.
Prioritization is key.
Because they help us figure out
what to focus on first.
What's the most important thing?
You can't do everything at once.
You can't.
You got to prioritize.
So one of the simplest but really effective ones is called the Moscow method.
The Moscow method.
Sounds a little bit like a spy thriller.
It's like a secret mission.
But it's actually pretty straightforward.
It is. It is.
It's basically about categorizing things into
must have,
should have,
could have,
and won't have.
4 categories, nice and simple.
So must-haves are like the non-negotiables.
Absolutely essential.
If it doesn't have this, it's not going to work.
It's not going to fly.
Should-haves are important.
Important, but not critical.
For the initial launch or the immediate success.
You can launch without them.
You can.
But you want to get to them eventually.
Eventually, they would be nice to have.
Exactly.
Could-haves are like the bonus feature.
The icing on the cake.
If we have time, great.
If we have resources.
If not, no big deal.
We can live without them.
And then won't-haves are like, okay.
We're consciously deciding.
We're not doing this.
Not now, maybe not ever.
Yeah, parking lot.
Backlog.
Our sauce had this great example.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
Of a budgeting app.
A budgeting app. I like it.
So you're building this app.
To help people manage their money.
Yeah, right. And so thinking about, okay.
What are the must-haves for a budgeting app?
What do we absolutely need?
Security. Gotta have security, right?
Oh, yeah, you can't have a budgeting app.
Without rock-solid security.
That's going to leak people's financial information.
That's a disaster.
So that's definitely a must-have.
Must-have, for sure.
What about something like social media integration?
Social media integration.
So people can share their budgets with their friends.
Or like brag about how much money they're saving.
Right, exactly.
I don't know if that's a must-have.
I don't think so.
It's kind of a nice-to-have, maybe.
Yeah, should have.
I should have.
Could even be could have.
Yeah, I think so.
It'd be cool, but it's not essential.
Not essential to the core functionality.
What about dark mode?
Dark mode, everybody loves dark mode.
I do.
It's easier on the eyes.
Especially at night.
But is it a must-have for a budgeting app?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Could have.
And then they had this funny example of like a gaming feature. A gaming feature in a budgeting app.
Yeah, like, you know.
That's a little out there.
Level up as you save more money or something.
Don't know about that.
Definitely won't have.
Won't have, for sure.
So it's a really simple way.
Of just like getting your thoughts organized.
Categorizing.
Figuring out what's truly important.
And there's this cool variation on it.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Called buy a feature.
Buy a feature.
I like that. So it's like you give everybody...
Like stakeholders.
Stakeholders points.
Like Monopoly money.
Kind of like, yeah.
But for features.
For features.
So like the must-haves would be worth 100 points.
Yeah.
Should has 50.
Could has 25.
And won't have 0.
0.
You can't buy those.
You can't buy them.
And then people get to spend their points.
On the features that they think are most important.
So it's like a voting system almost.
It is.
But with points.
With points.
So the features with the most points at the end.
Those are the ones that get prioritized.
That's a really clever way to do it.
It's fun.
It's engaging.
It gets people thinking.
And it gets people to really reveal their priorities.
Exactly.
Where their true loyalties lie.
So the Moscow method.
Simple but effective.
Yeah, right. What's another one?
Another great prioritization framework is the Eisenhower matrix.
Ah, the Eisenhower matrix.
This one's a classic.
It is a classic.
It's all about urgency versus importance.
Urgent.
Important.
4 quadrants.
4 quadrants, yes.
So we've got urgent and important.
Do it now.
Do it first.
Drop everything else.
This is the fire.
Put out the fire.
Important, but not urgent.
Do it later.
Schedule it.
Plan it.
Make sure it happens.
But you don't have to do it right this second.
All right.
Then we've got urgent, but not important. This is the tricky one.
Yeah, this is the one that gets me.
It feels important because it's urgent.
Right. It's like screaming at you.
It's demanding your attention
But it's not actually that important
in the grand scheme of things.
in the long run.
So the key here is to delegate.
Delegate if you can.
Pass it off to someone else.
Get it off your plate.
Free up your time for the important stuff.
And then the final quadrant.
Not urgent, not important.
This is the time-wasting stuff.
The distractions.
The things that just suck your energy.
Eliminate them.
Get rid of them.
Ruthlessly.
It's so hard, though.
It's a constant battle.
I find myself getting bogged down
In those urgent but not important tasks,
all the time.
they feel like they need to be done right now.
But they really don't.
And they're preventing you from doing the truly important work.
The work that's going to move the needle.
The work that's going to make a real difference.
So the example that they gave in our source was
Oh yeah, what was their example?
critical bug fixes.
Critical bug fixes.
Definitely urgent and important.
If your app is crashing,
If your website's down,
you got to fix it now.
you gotta fix it now.
No question.
Whereas something like user research,
User research is super important,
super important for the long-term health of your product.
but it's not necessarily urgent.
Not urgent.
You can plan it,
Schedule it,
make sure it happens.
but it's not a drop everything and do it right now kind of thing.
Exactly.
So Eisenhower matrix,
Another great tool.
another way to categorize things.
And figure out what to tackle first.
All right, now let's talk about
What else we got?
the Rice scoring model.
The Rice scoring model.
This one tries to bring a little bit more,
Data.
a little more objectivity,
Objectivity to the prioritization process.
which can be helpful.
So Rice stands for impact.
Confidence.
4 key factors.
And each of those has a score.
You assign a score to each one.
So reach is basically
How many users will be affected
by this feature or this project.
within a certain time frame?
Right. So are we talking about
100 users?
1,000 users,
1,000,000 users.
10 million users?
That's the reach.
Impact is a little bit trickier
It's more subjective.
because it's about,
How much will each user be affected?
and so you might use a scale for this.
Like 1 to 5?
1 being,
Yeah, minimal impact.
5 being
Huge impact.
life-changing impact.
Earth-shattering impact.
Right. And confidence is basically,
How confident are we in our estimates for reach and impact?
yeah, because sometimes we're just guessing,
We're making educated guesses.
but sometimes we have more data.
Sometimes we have more certainty.
So that's where the confidence score comes in.
And then effort is about
How much work is it going to take
to actually build this thing.
to implement this feature?
How many engineers?
Programming designers.
How many hours?
How much time?
How much money?
All that goes into the effort score.
And then you plug all those numbers into a formula.
It's a simple formula.
Reach times impact times confidence.
Divided by effort.
And that gives you your Rice score.
And the higher the score,
The higher the priority.
so our source gave this example
Oh, yeah, I love examples.
of a feature that had a reach of 4,
4,
an impact of 5,
5,
a confidence of 3.
3. So, not super confident,
Not super confident about the impact,
but still pretty high impact.
but still pretty high.
And an effort of 6.
So you plug all those numbers in,
Do the math.
and you get a Rice score of 10.
10, not bad.
Not bad.
So that would be a relatively high priority feature.
Now, one thing to keep in mind,
Always caveats.
always caveats,
There are always caveats.
is that even though this seems very objective,
Data-driven.
it's still based on
Estimates.
estimates.
Especially that impact score.
That impact score is very
It's
subjective.
already subjective.
So you got to be careful
You got to be mindful
about how you're assigning those scores.
and make sure you're being consistent.
Consistent across different features.
Otherwise, you're comparing apples to oranges,
Right.
which doesn't really help you prioritize.
So Rice scoring model.
Another tool in the toolbox.
Right. And then the final prioritization framework
Hit me with it.
is WSJF,
WSJF,
weighted shortest job first.
that's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
But it's a really powerful concept.
This one's especially useful in agile environments where you're constantly shipping things.
Continuous delivery.
Continuous delivery.
Iterating quickly.
And the core idea behind WSJF is
Cost can delay.
cost of delay,
Versus
job size.
job size.
So it's about understanding
How much are we losing?
how much potential value
are we missing out on?
By not doing this thing right now.
The longer we wait, the more it costs us.
Exact.
Opportunity costs.
Opportunity cost.
So the formula is
Cost of delay.
divided by
time.
simple formula. And so they gave this example
Of a project that had a cost of delay.
of $20,000
$20,000.
and a job size of 40 points.
40 points.
So you divide those
20,000 by 40.
and you get a WSJF score of 500.
500.
And so the higher the school,
The sooner you should do it.
the higher the priority.
Makes sense.
It does make sense.
It's all about maximizing value.
And minimizing delay.
Exactly.
So that's WSJF. Weighted shortest job first.
Okay, so we've talked about a bunch of different ways to figure out
What to work on first.
how to prioritize.
What's most important?
But what about actually coming up with those ideas?
Ideation.
Ideation,
Generating solutions.
solving problems.
Problem-solving frameworks.
Yeah, because problems are going to come up.
They always do.
So our sources have some really interesting frameworks for that as well.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear about them.
So one of them is called the circles method.
Circles method.
And this one is often used in interview settings.
Interview settings.
But it's applicable to really any kind of problem-solving situation.
Anytime you need to think through a problem systematically.
So circles is an acronym.
Acronyms are great.
They help us remember things.
So what does CIRCLE stand for?
So the first C is for clarify.
Clarify.
And this is about making sure
That you really understand the problem.
you're not just jumping into solutions.
You're taking the time to define the problem.
And asking questions like,
Why do we want to do this?
what's the reason?
What's the goal?
What are we trying to achieve?
Clarify. Clarify. Clarify.
Then I is for identify.
Who are the users?
Who are we solving this for?
What are their needs?
What are your pain points?
R is for report.
Report.
So basically you're creating this
List of pain points
and needs.
based on your understanding of the users.
Then the second C is for cut,
Cut.
because you can't solve everything at once.
You got to prioritize.
So you're cutting down that list of pain points,
Focusing on the most important ones.
the ones that are going to have the biggest impact.
The ones that are going to make the biggest difference.
L is for list.
List.
And this is where you start brainstorming solutions
All the possible solutions.
to those prioritized pain points.
No idea is too crazy at this stage.
Just get them all out there.
Brainstorm, brainstorm, brainstorm.
And E is for evaluate.
Evaluate.
So now you're looking at all those potential solutions.
Weighing the pros and cons. What are the trade-offs?
What are the risks?
What are the benefits?
Which one is the most feasible?
Which one is the most likely to succeed?
Evaluate, evaluate, evaluate.
And then finally, S is for summarize.
Summarize.
So you're putting it all together
You're making a recommendation.
based on all that analysis
Clearly and concisely.
so that everybody understands.
What you're proposing.
And why you're proposing it.
Summarize, summarize, summarize.
So that's the circles method.
It's a really structured way
We're breaking down a complex problem.
into manageable steps
Another really helpful framework
for problem solving and ideation.
is the BUS method.
The BUS method.
And this one focuses on 3 key elements.
What are they?
Business problem,
Business problem,
user problem,
user problem,
and solution.
solution.
So it's about aligning,
Those three perspectives.
making sure they're all pointing in the same direction.
Because sometimes they can be misaligned.
Sometimes the business wants one thing,
The users want something else.
and the solution that you come up with.
Doesn't really address either of those needs.
Right.
So the BUS method helps you avoid that.
So it starts with the business problem.
Why are we doing this?
What are the business goals?
What problem are we trying to solve for the company?
How will we measure success?
What are the key metrics?
So it's really about understanding
The big picture.
this strategic context.
Why this matters to the business.
Then you move on to the user problem.
Who are the users?
What are their needs?
What are their pain points?
How will this product or service
Make their lives better.
solve their problems?
Address their needs.
So it's about understanding
The human element.
the people that you're serving.
The people that you're designing for.
And then finally, you get to the solution. How are we going to solve
both the business problem
and the user problem?
with a single solution?
Ideally.
So what features?
What functionality?
Which will work.
What's feasible?
What's desirable?
What's going to make both the business and the users happy?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And the BUS method helps you answer it.
So BUS method.
Another great tool.
And then, of course, we can't talk about
Problem solving and ideation.
without mentioning
Design thinking.
design thinking.
One of the most popular
Human-centered.
approaches to innovation.
And so design thinking is typically described as a
5-stage process.
5-stage process.
What are those stages?
So first you have to empathize.
Empathize.
And this is about really understanding your users.
Deeply understanding.
Not just what they say,
but what they do.
how they feel.
What they think.
What they need.
What they want.
So this involves things like
User research views.
Really trying to step into their shoes.
And see the world through their eyes.
The example that they gave in our source was conducting user research with people who are already using
similar apps.
To
see what they like about those apps.
What they don't like.
What they wish was different.
So that you can learn from
their experiences.
Their insights.
And avoid making the same mistakes.
Exactly.
So empathize is the foundation.
It's the starting point
of design thinking.
Then you move on to define. And this is where you take all those insights
from your user research
and you articulate
the core problem
that you're trying to solve
in a clear and concise way.
For example,
based on our user research,
we might define the problem as
people find it difficult to stay organized
and on top of their tasks.
Yeah, especially when they have a lot of tasks.
And you're feeling overwhelmed
and stressed.
So that's the define stage.
Defining the problem.
Then you move on to ideate.
Ideate.
This is the fun part.
The brainstorming part.
Where you come up with as many potential solutions as possible.
No idea is too crazy.
No idea is too stupid.
Just get them all out there.
Quantity over quality at this stage.
Just generate ideas.
So maybe we could create an app
that uses gamification
to make task management more fun.
Or maybe we could develop an AI-powered tool
that automatically prioritizes tasks.
Or maybe we could create a physical planner.
Yeah, people can write in.
Just throwing out ideas.
Just brainstorming.
Ideation.
Then you move on to prototype.
Prototype.
And this is where you take one of those ideas
that you came up with during the ideation phase.
And you create a simple version of it.
A scaled-down version.
That you can test.
With real users.
So it doesn't have to be perfect.
It doesn't have to be fully functional.
It has to be enough
to get feedback.
To see if your idea has legs.
To see if it's worth pursuing further.
So maybe you create a paper prototype of your app.
Or a clickable mock-up.
Or a 3D printed model of your physical product.
Whatever it takes to get your idea in front of users.
And then finally, you move on to test. And this is where you put your prototype in front of real users.
And you watch them use it.
You ask them questions.
You get their feedback.
What works?
What doesn't work?
What's confusing?
What's delightful?
What could be improved?
You gather all that feedback.
And you use it to iterate.
To make your product better.
Refine your solution.
To get closer to something that truly meets the needs of your users.
So that's design thinking.
A very iterative,
human-centered
approach to innovation.
Now, beyond these specific problem-solving frameworks,
we've got some broader categories
of frameworks that are also really important.
So what else we got?
So one of them is the product development framework.
Product development framework.
And this basically provides a structure
for teams to follow
throughout the entire process of creating a product.
From the initial idea
all the way through to launch.
And beyond.
An ongoing iteration.
Because product development is never really done.
It's a continuous process.
Of learning and improving.
So a product development framework helps you
bring both creativity
and strategic effectiveness
to that entire life cycle.
And then there's the data framework.
Data framework.
And this is about
making sense of all the data that we have.
Because data is the backbone
of any modern business.
We're swimming in data.
We're drowning in data.
So a data framework helps you
gather that data,
store it,
analyze it,
and understand it
so that you can use it
to make better decisions,
to identify trends,
to track your progress,
to achieve your goals.
So data framework is all about
making data work for you.
And then we have the user journey framework.
User journey framework.
And this is all about
putting the customer at the center
of everything you do.
Understanding their journey.
From their first interaction with your product.
All the way through to becoming a loyal customer.
And everything in between.
So it's about identifying all the different touch points.
Where they interact with your brand.
With your product.
With your service.
And understanding their experience at each of those touch points.
So that you can identify
areas for improvement.
Ways to reduce friction.
Ways to make the experience more enjoyable.
More seamless.
More delightful.
And so one of the key tools that's often used in user journey mapping
is creating user personas.
User personas.
So these are basically
semi-fictional representations
of your ideal customers.
Based on your research.
Based on your data.
And they help you to really understand
the needs,
the behaviors,
pain points
of your target audience.
So that you can design experiences
that truly resonate with them.
And meet their needs.
So user journey framework is all about
Putting yourself in the shoes of your customer.
And seeing the world through their eyes.
And then we have the competitive analysis framework.
Competitive analysis framework.
Which is all about understanding
the competitive landscape.
Who are your competitors?
What are their strengths?
What are their weaknesses?
How do you stack up?
Where do you have an advantage?
Where do you need to improve?
And so our source specifically highlights the VRIO framework.
VRR framework.
Which stands for
value,
rarity,
and organization.
4 key factors
that determine whether a resource or a capability
can give you a sustainable competitive advantage.
So value means that your resource
actually provides value
to your customers.
It helps you capitalize on opportunities.
Or defend against threats.
So, for example,
if you have cutting-edge smartphone camera technology
that offers unique features
that consumers really desire,
that's a valuable resource.
Rarity means
that your resource is unique.
Or at least not widely available
to your competitors.
So, for example,
if you have exclusive access to a team of data scientists
who are experts in a particular field,
that's a rare resource.
Compatibility means
how difficult and costly it would be
for your competitors to copy
or substitute your resource.
So, for example,
if you have a patented manufacturing process
that significantly lowers your production costs.
That's a difficult to imitate resource.
And then organization means
that your company is structured
in a way that allows you to effectively leverage
those valuable, rare, and difficult to imitate resources.
So, for example,
if you have an agile project management system
that allows you to respond quickly to changes in the market.
That's an organizational capability.
That gives you a competitive advantage.
So the VRIO framework helps you
identify your core competencies
and figure out how to use them
to outperform your competition,
to create a sustainable advantage.
And then finally, we have the growth framework.
Growth framework.
Which is all about understanding
how to grow your business,
how to acquire new customers,
how to retain existing customers,
so how to increase revenue.
And our source specifically highlights the AARR framework.
AAR, also known as
Pirate Metrics.
Pirate Metrics.
Because it's a fun acronym.
It's memorable.
And it stands for
acquisition,
activation,
retention,
revenue,
5 stages
of the customer lifecycle.
So acquisition is all about
how do new users find you?
How do they discover your product?
Maybe through a Google search.
Maybe through an ad.
Maybe through word of mouth.
Maybe through the App Store.
Whatever it is.
That's acquisition.
Activation is about
getting those new users to take a key action.
That demonstrates that they're actually engaged.
That they're getting value from your product.
So maybe they complete their profile.
Maybe they use a key feature.
Maybe they make a purchase.